Hey, everybody. Thanks for jumping on. I'm here with Colorado Springs realtor Caleb Leonard. He's been in the business for 3 years. The last couple of years has really taken off for him in spite of the market, in spite of everything. He hit the top level here at EXP. We're going to talk about it. Here we go. Caleb.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
It's going good. Happy New Year, all that stuff.
Happy New Year to you too.
Definitely. How were the holidays, you and your family?
They were good. They were interesting.
Yeah.
With all this sickness and everything going around, and then family trying to travel on Southwest and whatnot. So.
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole nother issue.
Yes.
Right there. That's a big thing. We had flights delayed. We had our Christmas was December 28th this year. So anyway, it all worked out fine. But yeah, there were delays. Holidays.
As long as you're with family.
Travel. Yeah. I learned a long time ago, long story that I won't get into right now, but oh man, we don't travel on Christmas. If you want to come here. You're more than welcome. Our house is open, but no, we're not going anywhere.
Definitely.
A long story.
My brother-in-law was supposed to get in Christmas evening on the day of Christmas and didn't get in and didn't even get to where he was supposed to get. He was supposed to come to Colorado Springs, flew into Denver, took an Uber from Denver, got in about 10:30 at night.
Jeez.
So
I hear you. Well, man, I appreciate your time. Yeah. You're crushing it in the business, in real estate. Tell a little bit of your story. I know before that you were a biologist. You're a brainiac over there.
Don't know about brainiac, but yes, I was.
Tell some of your story. So you talk about that. Okay.
Yeah. So I've had a couple kind of careers, 2, 3. Now I'm in my third. Growing up, I was really interested in the sciences. Got into college, was planning on doing pre-med. I did that for 6 months, decided I like plants and animals more than people at the time.
Yeah.
So switched over, did that, got my degree, got my master's in biology, worked as a biologist for a while. Mm-hmm. Some of the highlights, worked on the BP oil spill for about 1.5 years. And covered the entire coast of the Gulf, just about from the Texas-Louisiana border all the way to Florida, either in boat or walking. So that was really interesting. Learned a lot, had a lot of good experiences, not just in kind of working with people, but working with different types of people. And I think, I look back on a lot of that of just putting teams together, putting people together, working with politicians, working with, business people, scientists, all of that. So I think that was really influential. Stayed as a biologist for a few more years. We were going to have our first child, decided, let's look at maybe moving somewhere else. I was planning on staying in that career, wanted to get into the federal system, and had something lined up in New York City, actually. And the Lord had other plans. So there was a government sequester.
As he often does.
Yes, definitely. So there was a government sequester and they shut down all hiring. So it kind of put a freeze on that. And I had an opportunity to join a nonprofit down in Georgia. Decided, let's give it a try. It was a pretty hard decision just because it was kind of really giving up, the career I'd been in. But went and did that and was the executive director at the nonprofit down there. And that, again, was just, I think, building a lot of skills in, again, not just sales, but just working with people. I was walking into literally billionaires' offices and meeting with them and going through business plans and asking for money and, and not small amounts. I got to know the founder and his sons of Chick-fil-A, Truett Cathy and Bubba Cathy, and got to know them, met with Bubba and his team several times a year. That was really influential, just seeing how they go about it and the success that they've had.
Yeah.
And you know what, I was just saying, you know what, I really enjoy nonprofit. I'm going to stay in that, but we don't want to live in Georgia anymore. We want to move out west. So I resigned and we moved out here, and tons of nonprofits in Colorado. So I was looking in that field and just was striking out left and right. I was having interviews, had a lot of opportunities, but just nothing that really fit. Right. And could have gone into Chick-fil-A, and I had an opportunity up in Denver, but decided just doesn't have the opportunity that I want. So had a really close family friend here in Colorado Springs, and he was just meeting with me as more encouraging. But his dad had actually purchased a independent brokerage back in the 60s, and he had taken over running it in the 70s and 80s, and then he bought his dad out, and he'd had it, and he still has his license is active still. It's been almost 50 years now. Wow. That he's been active in Colorado. So probably one of the longest active agents. But so he had that business, but I wasn't really looking to get into real estate. It was something I've been interested in, but wasn't really an option at the time. And he had a lot of connections, and so I was kind of utilizing those. And then one day he just said, I'd really enjoy working with you if you have any interest at all of joining me and coming on. And didn't have any other options at the time, so I said, what, let's give it a try. They mainly focused on HOA and property management. That wasn't anything I was interested in. So he just said, well, come on over and let's try to do residential sales and see how it goes. So he was super supportive. Really allowed me to get my license and start to figure things out. Right. He, during that time, actually was selling his and sold his business. And it was to a strictly HOA management company. And so I was helping them on the HOA sales side for a number of months as COVID was hitting. And just, again, it confirmed I wasn't interested in that. And
the property management side of
and
it.
Property management, yeah. HOA management.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So spoke with them. They decided, what, we can tell you're not interested. We want to keep you around though. We would like for you to build our, residential sales department and, bring folks on and kind of build that up. And, so during that time, I was starting to get a few deals, was working with my other partner who had brought me in, and he had a lot of connections. So we had a few sales here and there, kind of starting in June of 2020. But every conversation I had with another agent, if I was showing a home or if I had a listing and they were, wanting to show my home, I would give them a call, and just, if I had a good connection with them, I, asked, hey, do you have 15 minutes? Can we sit down and grab a cup of coffee? If, at the time it wasn't always allowed with COVID, but right. Just, can we have a Zoom meeting? Can we just, I just want to pick your brain. I want to learn about the business, but also learn about, what your brokerage is. At the time, I was really trying to learn what was the competition out there, because, I didn't know a whole lot about Keller Williams and Remax, and, I knew the names, but I didn't know how they operated.
Sure.
So wanted to see what's the competition, if we're going to be trying to hire people and create something, because I knew we weren't, really up to date. So met with a number of those folks, learned a lot, was really kind of gauging, there's some really good ideas out here. Maybe we can steal a few of these. And then actually did a deal and across the table with Steve Carruthers. And, got to know him a little bit. It was funny because he actually lived in the same neighborhood as my dad, over on the Mesa near Garden of the Gods. Right. And we had a good experience in that transaction. And we had a number of other times that we kind of talked, and he, asked if I wanted to grab, coffee or lunch and just kind of talk about a few things. And he had mentioned that he had been a flipper way back when, and I was interested in that. So I wanted to kind of pick his brain about that. And so we met, and, we just talked the first time. We didn't have any kind of EXP or anything like that. I knew he was with EXP.
Right.
But we just talked, and he was really, I really appreciated kind of his approach to it. That he was just answering my questions. I was asking him about the business, and I asked him about EXP, but I also was asking about flipping and things like that.
Sure.
So we set up another meeting for a few weeks later, and that's when he asked, would you mind if I show you the EXP model? So we kind of went through that, and I was definitely intrigued. But again, it was just still at that point was collecting information. What can I steal?
For the brokerage that you're at, trying to build that, and
Exactly.
where are you going to go with that? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but I was intrigued by it. At the same time, there was a lot of things going on at the brokerage I was at that it just was going in a different direction that I didn't want to be able to be a part of. They were struggling to kind of keep the standards. And so there were just some issues there. And so I was really debating back and forth. Do I stay and try to build something for somebody else that I'm not going to realize a whole lot of gain because I don't have any ownership in it. So I'd build them something that, they might make a whole lot of money if I'm successful, but I'm still just going to be working for somebody else. So that was really, kind of weighing on me. But at the same time, I was also realizing, man, we are so far behind all these other brokerages as far as what we offer. I don't even know, you're basically starting from scratch. And so Steve said, hey, do you mind if I bring my friend Jeff in? He can really explain the EXP model really well. So I said, sure, that'd be great. I'm looking to meet everybody I can.
Right.
And, I know just from past experience, I can learn from anybody. Anybody has had experience in something, I can learn from them. So yeah, let's do it. We met over at the Panera, and we grabbed some lunch, and you kind of went through it. And I realized at the moment, I don't know if I told you or not, but the moment I was all in at that point. I saw it. I realized just what the model meant. But I also realized, why try to, if you can't beat it, join it. I can't create this same thing all on my own. And so I went and talked to, my friend and partner and just said, hey, this is what's going on with you. You got a whole lot of legal stuff. They're trying to utilize me in ways that, are just putting some, negative things in between us. Let me get out of that. This is what I'm interested in. This is where I'm planning on going. So I did. I left that month, joined EXP. As soon as he was able to extricate himself from all the legal mess, he joined me that next spring at EXP. So, it's something I joined in November of 2020. And, it really was something where I realized I don't know so much about this business. I don't know how to operate. We hear it every day. We hear it in every training, real estate, training or classes don't teach you how to be a realtor. So I had to really learn that. And where I wasn't getting any training, wasn't getting experience just outside of my own, deals and things like that. So it took a few months. I joined in November, hit the holidays, but was really kind of digging into what EXP had to offer. And, was doing some of the Freedom Team things. It was kind of prior to Freedom Team being called Freedom Team, but doing a lot of those trainings. Joined you and others down in Florida that January. Came down for a training down there. And that kind of really lit a spark. But it really was also just taking advantage of all the things that EXP was offering as far as just their online trainings of, real estate 101 and things like that. Just kind of, hey, I need to go back to the basics. I kind of missed a lot. So it took me 3 or 4 months to really kind of get things rolling. But then as soon as they did, it just took off. And I think that was something that it's been a real blessing. I do feel like I've been kind of running to catch up a little bit at times, just because you get busy and you don't have things necessarily organized how you want them, but you're so busy, you're doing deals and you're meeting new people. And so that first year with EXP was really 2021. And I missed Icon by about 2 weeks. If I had gotten that deal, which it got pushed back, I would have iconed that first year. But no worries. That was kind of my goal was, okay, going into 2022, I'm hitting it with a full head of steam. I'm going to do this. And I did. So it was something that, it probably would have happened early in the year. There was a number of other things that kind of happened at the start of 2022 with starting a team and kind of working with that and splitting commissions and things. But regardless, it's been a really great experience.
Stuff for just because there's so many nuggets that you had in there, that I want to make sure we land on a couple of these and just for people to really get, because there's gonna be agents watching this that are brand new, people thinking about getting their license. Should I not? They'll see this. Some agents been around for 20 years. They'll see this, and all different people. But you mentioned something. I think at the beginning, I think that was really good in terms of just setting up those coffees with all different agents, just to pick their brain a little bit. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you're at. Where what do you like? What don't you like? What have you learned over the years? I mean, and I would tell anybody out there, I'm always open to. I don't know. I love sitting down with people for coffee and. Not to talk about EXP, just talk about life stuff and business stuff. And 21 years of doing this, man, I've learned all kinds of things. If you want to get into real estate or if you're looking to build your business, like, okay, here's some things that work for me. They may or may not work for you. I can tell you what I know, what I've learned. Here's some things definitely not to do because I made those mistakes. I mean, but again, to pick brains like that, and I think there are a lot of agents out there they're happy to get with people to just sit down for coffee and let's talk.
Yes,
and I love making the connections and everything. I mean, that's one thing about Colorado Springs. I mean, the realtor group here, it is a big, everybody works together here, all the different companies in such a great way. I love being a realtor here in town. It's a phenomenal experience, but some great agents to learn from and to pick brains with,
Yeah. And that was, it really was just, hey, if I have a good experience, it could have been super brief. It could have just simply been somebody actually picking up the phone and having a good attitude. When we're talking, and because that was the thing I was noticing, there were a lot of agents that just don't talk. They'll text you, they'll, they're too busy to do whatever. And so those ones that I really had a good, interaction with, I just zeroed in on, and it was something where people are willing to share, they're willing to open up, and everybody's experienced things differently, and you're able, if you can meet with all these folks and then just start picking out nuggets from each one and putting it together. This is, this might not work for me the way they did it, but I could take this aspect of it and make it mine. So that was really beneficial. But I think also just being able to talk with a lot of folks that were really encouraging was huge as well. From all kinds of different brokerages, and just sharing those experiences, what they've learned. And I've tried to do that myself. I've met a number of agents, newer agents, especially, they'll come to open houses, hey, I just wanted to come by, and they'll admit it after they've been there a little while. I'm an agent. I'm new. I'm just trying to experience this. And it's great. Hey, let's talk for a while if I'm not busy with another client, but I'm more than willing. Let's grab coffee. Let's talk through what are your options? What are you looking for? And that was something where I did that with all of those brokerages. So I really dug in. So I do have, while I haven't necessarily worked at all of them, I do have a good grasp of what they have to offer. And so there are agents out there that EXP might not be the right fit for them, and it was for me, and it still is. I love just the freedom of, I could do it however I want to. If I want to have a big team, I could have a big team. If I want to have a small team, or if I want to go at it myself, there's still an aspect of team and all of those things that you would get from being in a regular office. I can call up just about any EXP agent, and they're gonna be respectful of it. They're gonna give me a whole lot of feedback, much more than I would ever expect. And we've got some real quality people, like you said, here in the Springs. Yeah, at EXP and there's other brokerages, but
Sure.
There's been a lot of deals that I've been able to get, especially during the craziness of COVID, just simply because they knew me from us building relationships. Working with a Keller agent or somebody like that who they accepted our offer even though it was lower than other ones that they had, simply because they knew me and they knew, okay, this is going to go smoothly, it's going to get done.
Right.
So I found that really kind of trying to build those relationships has benefited in numerous ways.
Right. What would you say to an agent right now? Maybe they've been licensed the last couple of years, but the shift has really hit them, and they're struggling and they're trying to figure it out. I mean, how have you adjusted your business in the last, 6 months? Have you made any adjustments yourself? Are you doing anything differently now than what you were doing, prior to the shift that we're in?
Yes. I think, it's something coming in, you'd always hear like, you want listings, and
Right.
and that was always there were agents I met that were strictly buyer agents and things like that, but for the most part people would always push, you want listings, and you still do. But I think the big thing for me that I always wanted, but I think the last 6-8 months has really shown, is really have to be really balanced in the type of clients that you have. Right now you want buyers. I mean, if you have a buyer, you can pretty much go out and handpick the house that you want and handpick all of the terms of the deal. And I think it was something where I've really tried, to kind of shift my business, maybe be a little bit more focused on a couple of my spheres, instead of having too broad. I do work with, investors, which is great. But right now that's a little bit more of a struggle. I think it's been really interesting for me. I've enjoyed the shift simply because, I tend to kind of get bored if it's the same old. So if I need to really push and learn and figure out, okay, how do we start selling these homes that are sitting for 2-3 months? What do we need to do differently? So I really enjoy that aspect. But I think, our market, it's really getting to know, okay, what is our market? Who are you within that market? What are your areas that you're really focused on? And then developing those. And I don't think we need to, pigeonhole ourselves into certain spheres that we maybe had before we were in real estate.
Right.
So I think we can develop new areas,
It's a good point. I think, you got to adjust as the market shifts, you shift with it. The good agents, I think they've learned how to adjust and try and do new things or pull things out that they did 10 years ago that they haven't had to do, whatever,
Right.
But now those are back into play. We're seeing buy downs on mortgages, all kinds of stuff that we haven't had for a long time. There's a lot of new
Right.
agents. What's a buy down? It's like, learn how to do these different things, whatever.
Right.
But you can diversify yourself a little bit. But I think it's a great time to hone in on skills, and really dive in and become an expert. You have to get better, because there's going to be a lot of agents leaving the business. We're seeing that, whatever. But let's say now you're going to be competing with agents. You got on a listing appointment, and it could be your next door neighbor. They still, you're best friends with them. They still might be interviewing 2 or 3 other agents besides
Right.
you, because the sellers really are, they're concerned and they're looking. They've got to get the best that they can get out of this thing. So
Exactly.
don't just assume you're going to get the listing because it's your next door neighbor. Be ready with your skills to go in there. You got to sharpen the tools, sharpen the axe, before you go in, because you are going to be competing with some really good agents. The good agents aren't going anywhere. They're doing great. It's a great time to pick up market share. It's a great time to, really
Right.
expand the business. I don't know. The biggest year I had my entire 21 years was 2010, I believe it was. we were coming out of the recession, but it was, it was a good 2-3 year period there.
Yeah.
It was the biggest year I ever had. It was 90% short sales, but my goodness, we were at 6, 7, 8 a month,
Yeah.
because we had this pipeline just full, and we were just, man, I've never worked so hard in my life, but it was a huge year for us. We just had to learn. I'd never done a short sale prior to 2008,
Right.
and all of a sudden they started coming in, and so anyway, you just learn and you adjust, but you're going to be competing with agents. So,
Yes.
Take advantage of, maybe a little extra time you have in your day. Well, it's time I can binge on Netflix. No, Don't, there's nothing wrong with that here and there, but don't just do that. Like binge on, on training, and binge
Right.
on just on honing in on your skills. Binge
Yes.
on that and become the expert, and now you can make yourself stand out in the crowd because, whatever, it's a great time to do that.
And you have to,
Yeah.
like you were saying, I haven't personally seen as many agents leaving as I expected.
Right.
I do think more and more are going to in the coming months.
Yeah.
But I've certainly seen a lot of shifts in our market, not just in our market, but in our agents. It's been, not just here in Colorado Springs, but I've seen it in other markets that I have friends that agents are shifting all over to go to do different brokerages. They're moving massive teams all around, and they're all trying to find that angle. And I think that's something, that I've appreciated even from the start. But it is definitely more apt now, as you've got to stand out. You've got to, before, it was easy to sell a home, and there were agents that, I was fortunate for, the first year and a half or so, I every transaction I was working with a great agent on the other side of the table. And then I went through a string where I worked with some agents that I wouldn't necessarily recommend, and I was doing their job and mine and trying to get the deal done. And, and you see that, so you start to recognize there are some folks that, probably will start to struggle just because, not so much that they aren't smart, they aren't capable, they just aren't out there trying, and they aren't doing the things that they need to do to stand out. And I think, again,
you mean I got to work? I have to go to work?
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. I mean, that's the thing. I think, some of these brokerages get the name of being, you need to be an experienced agent to work there. And I know EXP's gotten that at times, that it's not a good place for a new agent. That wasn't my experience. But I see it as there are so many different things that I can do through EXP at such a low cost. And that's, everybody's trying to cut their expenses right now.
Yeah.
And, the smart agents are saying, well, I need to put all my expenses into marketing. Well, at EXP, I can do that because I don't have any, big expenses. Yeah. So I can, if I want to say, I can bulk up my marketing because I have that, capability. So that was something that I appreciated. But the other aspect is just all the training that I was able to, and it's only gotten better. Being on the Freedom team has been awesome. There's so many opportunities there. But it's all things where I can tailor it to my schedule. And that's the part that I love. I don't have I don't have a team who's requiring me to be somewhere, and I don't, I can really tailor that schedule to what's best for me. So that's what I've really enjoyed.
Was that a big thing for you? Like, because again, I know you obviously were having coffee with these agents, just, picking their brains on their businesses and on their models and just different things, trying to learn for the model you were going to be building, potentially at the other company. So you meet with all these different companies, you met with Steve, you had coffee talking about the flip business and different things. And, and then he asked if he could show you EXP, and you looked at that, what was it, you saw these other things. What was it that says, okay, this is the place I got to go? I mean, I met with you. I remember that we met at Panera Bread. I remember that. And with Steve, it was Steve, me, and you, and we sat down at Panera. It was because of me. That's what it was. You just wanted to know.
No, I think the depth that you went into, and really understanding the model. But I think also, well, it's true though. I mean, Steve.
What was it about the model, though? What was it about the model that made you like, wow, out of all the models I've seen and all the people I've talked to, wow, this is the place I got to go. What were some of the things that really jumped out for you?
I think the freedom in not just tailoring my business, but the freedom in making money. Because again, it was something for me. I'd been in the nonprofit world for 5-6 years. And my mindset was to, it's never been driven by money, but we're in a for-profit business, and, I have no problem if I'm, doing something to help somebody else make money. That's fine. Right. But in this business, I saw so many other models that it was, I do all of this, even if I'm doing it on my own, I'm doing all of this and I'm only getting a small percentage. And those other people that I don't know from Adam are making a ton more money based upon what I'm doing. And even after I joined EXP, I met, with probably the biggest Keller agent here in town. She was a close friend of my partner. And, so he just said, she really wants to see if we, she can pull us in. She knows we joined EXP. And so I said, yeah. And I talked to her and I said, I'd love to meet and have lunch, and I'll listen to everything you have to say, on one condition, that you'll also answer my questions. And, she agreed. So I went, I heard the whole spiel, saw, this amazing office, and yeah, it was beautiful. But I also know, there's nothing that benefits me by going to this office. There's nobody there that I'm selling to. All I'm doing is hanging out with, wasting time with other agents that are standing around the water cooler talking about, whatever.
Have nothing else to do.
But the spiel was, hey, we only charge this amount, which I was like, okay, I just told you what my splits are, what my cap is, and what my fees are. I told you all those things. And so, I'm on an 80-20 with 16,000, and you're offering me a great deal of a 70-30 with 21,000. And on top of that, a desk fee and all these other things. I'm like, you're not selling it. Like, how are you, and so, but then, also just looking at the profit share, she's, and again, I don't want to give too much information away, but it was something where, for as many agents as she's brought in and the time that she's been in it, she was doing well on profit share. But if you put even a quarter of that time into EXP, it was dramatically different.
Yeah.
And the other aspect I said was, I don't want to be you. I don't want to create this huge office that has 200 and something agents, and that doesn't, so if I can't even get to where you are, then how could I ever hope that profit share is going to work for me, even to the level that it works for you? And that was nowhere near what I was interested in, that I could see the benefits in EXP. So, I think I just felt like EXP had it didn't have any chains. I felt like every other brokerage that I reviewed and kind of really dug into felt like there was chains that would be holding me back. And so that was something I just saw freedom there in how I could operate. I didn't, again, just didn't want to be working for somebody else. We talk about being independent, contractors, but the majority of these other places, there's anything but independence.
That's true. Well, I think, what do we say to renters all the time? We tell renters, why rent when you can own? But yet, what do we do our entire careers as realtors? We rent space underneath a broker owner. They're the ones on the beach living the dream after a while. Whatever. Now, lots of liability, lots of headache that I never wanted, ever. I'll never do that. All these different things. But that's kind of the natural progression for people to get bigger and bigger and bigger. They build a team, then they maybe start a brokerage. Well, here it's almost like I can build a brokerage, and I said in quotes, whatever. I could build a brokerage within the brokerage, essentially, but I'm not liable for it. I'm not responsible for it. I don't have to train them. I don't have to feed them leads. Like EXP takes care of all that, but I override all their deals. And it's a nice thing, I think, in this market. I mean, just to share with you, Caleb, I think it was maybe October, November. My wife and I worked together. We had 3 deals that fell apart. Just completely fell apart. Interest rates got too high. They couldn't afford the payments, like legitimate things. They didn't work. There was an electrical issue. This one house with the inspection, just different things. It fell apart. 3 deals fell apart. So we had 0 closings that month for my wife and I personally. But I got paid on 42 closings or something like that from my EXP group, whatever, because to the way that worked, that way that model works, to override that, which more than covers our bills. Like, I'm not losing sleep at night over all these different things. Do I want those deals to close? Of course I want those deals to close. Are we still working with those people and figuring that out? Yeah, whatever. It's all good. But there's just a peace of mind about knowing that I could build something like that whatever.
Right.
There's a financial freedom that can come with this. Now, let's just hit this real quick and we'll start wrapping things up. You just hit icon. So for those, there's going to be a lot of agents again watching this. They have no idea what's an icon agent with DXP. Explain that real quick so people understand it and how big of a deal that is, because it's a big deal.
It is. Yeah.
And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
I mean,
awesome.
it was one of those things where it kind of lined up with my goals anyway. And so it was something where it's easy to put kind of this, I want to hit icon. It wasn't, I want to hit this many sales, or, I had those goals as well. But yeah, so within EXP, there is a small percentage of kind of, big producers that are going to hit icon. And I think it's something that, to explain it, I guess it would be, once you cap, then you need to do, if you're by yourself, it's 20 deals to basically hit a certain number of post-cap deals that you're kind of paying that cap fee. Once you hit that and get icon, then it's nice because it's not something where, I missed all of this stuff from the previous year. They kind of give you that next year to say, okay, you've hit icon. Now we're immediately going to give you back, $8,000 in stock, basically what you've, paid us. And most of that they've paid out to other agents, but what you paid us, we're going to give you that in stock, and then give you the opportunity in getting more integrated within our company, whether that's, doing a mentorship or teaching classes or doing all of these other things where you can even earn another $8,000 back in stock. And again, that stock is something,
and they're easy things. They're not like, whatever. They're simple things to do.
Well, and they are. But at the same time, I think it's something that as you hit icon, then you're also giving all of these other things of training opportunities and, meeting with other icons and, having all of these things that just begin to develop you even more beyond that. And so that was even, I think for me, that was probably even a bigger kind of goal, was to gain all of that more than just the 8,000 in stock. Yeah, that's great. That's huge for down the road when when the stock market finally settles down and starts going back up again, and our stock is making money, which it will. That's what, all of these commercials out there are talking about that, and it will, but that's great for down the road. But for right now, I can start meeting with even more people in a more intimate setting and have that capability to grow my business and to do what I did from the start of, let me get these little nuggets. I'm not going to be Jeff Morrell or Lane. I'm not going to do all of my business the way that they have. But there's a whole lot that I've learned from you that I've been able to pick little pieces and say, I can take this, tailor it to my business, and then advance that forward. And there's a number of agents.
Along with all these other icon agents and people that have built their businesses up to here. It's just that collaboration that goes on. And again, you hit that level you just hit, it does open those doors now to get with more of those people who are up here as well. Everybody takes everybody higher here.
Yeah.
The new agents.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, this is not, don't go to EXP if you're a new agent. No, there's so much value here. You become who you hang around. Get around these top agents, go into those icon classes, which there's I don't know how many icon classes a week there are, classes being taught by icon agents, trainings that are being done. These are the biggest and best agents across the country. There's no way that doesn't help your business,
Yeah.
And then for me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say really quick with that point, especially for new agents, but also just agents that have maybe, if they've been on a team that kind of does everything for them. I see that so much.
Yeah.
And I expected a lot more independence from people and agents than, when I came in, I kind of expected everybody was going to be really, kind of self-driven and all of that. But I think, at EXP, there are so many opportunities to grow who you are as an agent and to grow your business if you simply take advantage of the opportunities in front of you. If you drive yourself forward and you're self-disciplined. I've seen a lot of new agents that come in and they just want to be told what to do. They want to be told how to do it. instead of jumping in and learning it for themselves. And I think that's the biggest thing. And they can join an EXP team and they can have all of that, and someone can be feeding them leads, but you can do so much better if you just jump in, take advantage of the trainings that, again, they're set up, they're organized to say, if you're a new agent, do this. But then on top of that, it's, you can reach out to all of these agents in your local area. I was doing that I got into a kind of a pickle on one of my deals, and I called up Al Palmanar. I had met him once very briefly, but we didn't have a relationship. I called him up and we've talked numerous times since then, but he immediately said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to help. What's the situation? Let's talk it through." And he had been a managing broker at another brokerage and has all that wealth of experience, but he didn't hesitate to give me the advice and the help that I needed.
Sure.
And I didn't even have to worry about going to our managing brokers who are there. Todd answers right away every time I reach out to him if I need to. But there's also local folks that,
I was going to say there's probably about 20 other people you could have called if Al wasn't available, which is a great thing about this as well.
So there's just so many things that I think EXP lines up in ways that, and we know it, that no other brokerage does, though, that you can tailor your business exactly how you want to do it. And I think that was the thing that really stood out, was they don't care about kind of building themselves. They care about you building your business, and they're going to undergird you with all of those things so that you're successful. And if you're successful, they're successful. Instead of, hey, let me build this, for Keller or for Remax or whoever it is. Yeah, I really appreciate EXP, and I'm going to take advantage of their huge name and all of these things that they have, but they just really allow you the freedom to do it the way that is best for you.
For sure. Now, well, it's congratulations on hitting it, Icon. It's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Your business is taking off, which, and again, for most people, you can figure really 2.5 to 3 million in volume, is when you cap for most people, So again, across the country, depending on price ranges and stuff, I know here in Colorado Springs, 5 or 6 deals typically will cap you. An additional 20 deals on top of that, you become an Icon agent. And, like for me, that was huge, because like for me to get my 16,000 back, and then, and let me say this, I'd much rather get it back in stock than just a check for 16,000. That stock that we got back, 3 and 4 years ago from hitting that is like worth, I don't know how many times more than it was when they gave it to us, because the way the stock's gone.
Well,
it's down right now. People are like, the EXP stock needs some help. It's like, all the stocks are down.
Look at Tesla.
Look at all of them. I mean, everything's down right now. But again, that's when you buy. I see EXP agents like, oh my God, the stock, what's that? Like, calm down, buy more. Heck yeah. That's, this is how you work it, whatever. Because over time, it's gonna be doing this, I think, as it's working its way up over the next 10 years. What will that look like? I mean, so, again, so it put me over 100%, and that was huge. I was at a 100% company before I came here. Well, why would you go back to paying 16,000 a year? Because I get it all back every year, plus some. And then, then with the revenue share we get plus the stock, it's like, they're paying me 6 figures a year just to be here, whether I sell a house or not. It's like, that's a nice thing that can happen here, over time.
I mean, yes, you have that $16,000 cap, which again, for a lot of other companies, all the big ones out there, it's still either competitive or less.
Right.
But I think just the real expenses that you have are so minimal, especially for all that you're offered, and especially in a time like right now, where, I mean, I've had agents, join EXP simply because, they were like, I don't want to keep paying, in this downturn of a market, with the economy and all of that, I don't want to be paying a desk fee. I don't want to be paying all of these thousands of dollars that those don't stop. It's so.
I think it's important to see, what are you getting for your money? You got to really evaluate that, and again, it's just, I would just tell everybody out there, if you're watching this, whatever, and you've never seen the model, come look at the model, whether it's with me, with Caleb, reach out to one of us, reach out to an EXP agent that like, hey, I keep hearing about you guys. I want to see how the model works and just to see if it's a fit. If it's a fit, great. If it's not a fit, great. I mean, at least one way or another how this works, because it's not just another model. This model has never been done before. And most people think that. And I make calls, I'll reach out to, well, one of the first questions sometimes is, well, what's the monthly fee? Well, what's the splits? What's the cap? I'm like, okay, here's what it is, but forget all that. That doesn't matter in this company, because we're gonna show you how to get all that back plus some.
Right.
So many agents that are just over 100%, and we'll help you get there. We'll show you how that works. You need to at least see it, because that model hasn't existed outside of outside of this up until now. So,
well, and one other thing I would say is, also, call up Jeff, call up me if you just want to grab coffee for 15 minutes and not talk about EXP. Just to talk about real estate.
I love doing that. Absolutely. Anytime.
And I've had agents that join EXP through those conversations. I've had agents that have joined other brokerages, and then they're calling me up saying, I think I made a mistake. And can I meet with you again? You want to join it? Do you want to create a team and all these other things? But it really is just something of, sit down and talk with people that are good people that want to help to see you grow, and not necessarily for their benefit, and
for sure
have those conversations and keep learning. So
definitely. Well, Caleb, I appreciate your time. Yeah. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations. I mean, your third year, you're starting your fourth year now. Is that right? Is fourth year coming up? You going to hit Icon again this year?
That's the plan. 2 times. That's the plan. Two in a row, and just keep going.
Go get it. Yep. Keep growing. So guys, if you're on, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever, you have a question for either one of us, just type it into the comments. We will definitely get back to you. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, whatever. Doing a couple of these usually a week. Lots of good info every time we do it. Different agents, their stories, and things that you can definitely learn from all of them. So anyway, have a great week. Caleb, thank you again. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
See you around.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.